Hey, Catalyst crew. Welcome to Catalyst Corner, episode 90. I'm Evan.
I'm Jim.
We got some interesting stuff today. Got a couple of movies I want to talk about. I know you have some as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to cover some big fat phonies.
Yes.
Going to talk about everybody's favorite fourth wall breaker. And something fantastic as well. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing okay. Hanging in there. How about you?
So I'll tell you a story today.
Okay.
So I'm driving, went to the grocery store, as you did.
Sure.
Pretty normal stuff. I'm getting on the highway, and this particular highway has two turns and it merges into one,
Okay.
right? And I'm very much of the mindset of the zipper merge, right? One goes, then the other lane goes zipper, right?
Yeah.
The car behind me was not adhering.
Oh, they weren't ascribing to that.
They attempted to break the zipper.
Oh.
And I said, not today, Satan.
Yes. Yes.
So I sped up, and everything was right with the world. So I thought. So I get on the highway, and we're in New England.
Yeah.
Drive about 80.
Sure.
Yeah. This person, kids in their car.
Oh. Nice.
In the slow lane is driving 85 miles an hour to catch up with me.
Yeah, of course.
To flick me off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't react because in my mind, this is not a justifiable, I wasn't an asshole to you, and as a result, you've earned that middle finger.
Right.
They're
you were
mad
trying for something they did.
You were trying to break the zipper.
Right.
So I laugh, right?
Yeah.
She almost hits the guardrail. Two kids in the car. Almost hits the guardrail, has to swerve, and then immediately drops back down to 65. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you hate your life that much.
Right. Yeah, you put your kid's life in jeopardy because you found it that you needed to flick somebody the finger.
But the thing is, right, it's not like first of all, you're in the wrong because you tried to break the zipper. But even if I was in the wrong, right, even maybe I miscalculated and it wasn't my turn. It was, but maybe I miscalculated. I was driving faster than you anyway, so it's not like I cut you off to drive slow in front of you.
Right.
I'm not impeding your travel time. That's psychotic behavior.
Yeah, but that's unfortunately too much of a common occurrence around these parts.
So, my heart goes out to those kids because it's got to be tough.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure one toy left in the wrong spot.
Oh, my God.
It's going to be pandemonium.
Yeah. Just somebody cuts in front of them in the grocery store, and it's just she beats her kids or whatever.
Yeah, great.
Wild. Have you seen anything?
I have, and this is something that you've seen, I know, because we've talked about it, but I finally got a chance to catch it.
I see one or two.
So I caught the last Voyage of the Demeter.
What did you think?
So here's high level, right?
Yeah.
Cinematography I thought was beautiful.
Oh, my God.
I thought this movie looked beautiful.
Even tonally, I thought it was really, really well done.
I thought David Dalmakian was awesome as the first mate.
Oh, so good.
Right? I thought the good character overall, real solid characters.
Yeah.
Right? Here's my problem.
Sure.
The ending.
Oh, it goes from this cerebral horror film that's almost akin to Alien to like almost a Marvel's Avenger movie.
Yeah, but here's what bothers me.
Yeah,
like I understand this is just a small piece of a chapter in the book, right?
Sure.
It was never fleshed out.
No.
So you fleshed it out, and you had creative license to do pretty much whatever you wanted, except there was a beginning and there was an end.
Right. So you take issue with the fact that there was a survivor.
I take issue with the fact not only there was a survivor, but that story leads to nothing. Right.
So that's kind of where it sort of lost me too, because again, I really enjoyed the ride.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is really a great representation of sort of a more grounded type of, Dracula, right? Like he's a hunter.
Yep.
And he's hunting this prey.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere to go.
Right.
And I thought, wow, that's a terrifying concept.
Exactly.
And, not only the fact that he made it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That at the end they did this thing where it was almost, again, it felt like Blade or the Avengers or something.
Like,
and I was like, what?
Right. Like he's now a hero who's going to hunt down. But he doesn't. And that's the whole thing.
Right.
He doesn't.
Right. That's the other half of it, is that obviously, if we're sticking to Bram Stoker's Dracula, he doesn't.
Right.
He doesn't even live.
No. So, again, I had no issue with you can tell whatever story you wanted after you told the start and it ended the way it was supposed to end. I didn't care what you did in the middle, but you did a fantastic job in the middle. But
I agree.
For you to ruin it by that ending, it just, when it ended...
But that makes me wonder.
That ruined it.
That makes me wonder if, was there an alternate ending that they tested that was more bleak and maybe it didn't do well?
Maybe.
Because it just felt so unnatural.
But the
to
movie
me.
itself didn't do well with this ending. You know what I mean?
Well,
like this movie flopped in theaters.
Right, but it's one of those things where I didn't see it in theaters. I got a screener of it. And I thoroughly enjoyed like the whole ride until the end.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, it doesn't ruin the movie in the fact that, again, cinematography is excellent, lighting gorgeous, atmosphere great, very bleak.
Yeah.
So it still all has that, but you didn't stick the landing.
Right. And again, you could have died as a hero,
but
right?
even if he didn't die and he was just like, whoa, that was scary.
Yeah.
Don't turn him into fucking Van Helsing.
Right. And that's the problem. My issue is you've created an ending now that is a dead end.
I would have even been fine if he saw him in the tavern and then he got attacked.
Yeah, like if he died in the tavern,
right,
I would have been cool with that too.
Right.
Or like outside the tavern, whatever the case is, he should have died at the end.
Agree.
And again, he had a small hero's journey, and it would have been fulfilling, even if he died at the end. It would have been fulfilling that was the result of it, because ultimately Dracula was. Not the hero, but again,
Dracula
know what
was
this,
the victor,
right?
I mean, in
he was the victor, right?
In this particular instance,
right.
He makes it off of the Demeter and into London,
right? And no one else does. That was the whole point.
Now, I will say, something else I thought that they kind of dropped the ball on was, I thought once he if you're going to show us him in public, he should look like a man.
Yeah.
I understand that on the Demeter, he was very creature-like, bat-like, almost a Nosferatu-esque figure. And I thought that all was great.
Right.
But, he should have looked like a human man.
Yeah, I mean...
And he looked like Nosferatu.
Right. And that's all part of, what kind of threw it off is... No, he would have stood out, basically looking like that.
Nobody's going to ignore.
But B, the whole point of Count Dracula is his charm, right? His appearance and his charm sucked you in,
right? And you
never suspected him.
If you're not telling Nosferatu, which is a very specific story, and it's not Dracula. I mean, it's
a different vampire.
It's Orlok, right? But this was Dracula,
right?
So
exactly,
I just, for me, that threw me off.
Yeah.
Right? And then him surviving threw me off. Him becoming a, hunter of cryptids kind of threw me off.
But the thing is, like, my whole thing was, you didn't know where this, was going to go, right? I mean, you didn't know if it was going to be a success or failure. Ultimately, it was a failure, but you didn't know at the time you made it. You would just make it a one-off movie.
Right.
Why did you leave it open?
Right. There was no plan. That's the thing. I agree. There was no plan to make a sequel.
No.
Like good or bad. No one was like, haha, we'll make another one.
And then what were you going to do? Tell a completely different story?
The Voyage of the Demeter 2?
Right. Like
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. Of course you would make that movie.
Obviously.
That would sell.
Yeah.
So,
I'd see
I mean, again, I liked 95% of it,
Yeah,
but
but
the ending
ruins it,
ruined
right?
it for
kind
me.
of, yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's. You know what it is? Is it almost had the potential of a rewatch, which is pretty
Sure.
rare for me. I think I enjoyed the journey, but the destination ruined it, and I'll never rewatch it
Right.
because of it.
No, exactly, because now knowing how it ends
Yeah.
and the non-satisfactory way that it ends.
Yeah,
no.
I told you when I first saw it, it feels like it turned into a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Because
So,
that's really how it feels.
Yeah. So that was a downer.
I would say, you know who I would suggest it to is people that study film.
Sure.
I think from a technical standpoint, it's incredibly well done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want the visual appeal of it and the cinematography of it, it's a beautiful movie to watch.
And honestly,
but,
it's really good. It feels like an Alien or The Thing. Like you get those kind of isolationist vibes from it.
You know, but here's the only other thing that bothered me, right, is once they came to grips with what this was, right?
Right.
There was not enough dread from the lead character. Like
Agreed.
this is
I
a
agree.
doctor.
I
This is just
agree.
a doctor.
I think they really should have played out the fact that because they touched upon it, but they didn't go deep enough. This should have shattered his world.
Sure.
Right? Because he is a man of science, and here comes a creature that defies science.
Yeah. And again, you're not a warrior, you're not a pirate, you're a doctor.
Right.
And something like this that to your point should have shattered his world because it defies science. You also should have been fighting for your life as opposed to I'm going to take the fight to him. Like no, you wouldn't have taken the fight to him.
That's where it loses me.
Right.
Because even though it's only a chapter in the book, you know, what they convey is that he's basically at an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Right.
There's no one really opposing him on this ship.
Yeah, and no one could. You know,
Right,
I mean,
right.
that's the thing. There was nothing that they can do. They were stuck on a ship with a creature that they had no way of stopping ultimately what was going to happen as their demise.
Right.
And he, stood up against that like, nope, I'm going to kill this thing. And it's like, no, that's you didn't have the knowledge base to know even what this was, let alone think that you had the means to kill it.
Right. I agree. So again, I think that from a technical standpoint, nailed. Even from a writing standpoint, pretty solid.
Yeah, it was.
The dialogue was good. You like the characters.
Yeah, you do. You do. And even when you don't like them, you like, the motivation of what they're doing,
Sure,
right? I mean,
sure.
They're trying to, live,
Right.
the best way that they can, which is this is what they do for a living, and you can't come up here and fuck that up on me because this is all I know.
There was some bleakness in there. I mean, the shit with the kid was dark.
Oh
man.
yeah, very.
But that's what I'm saying is there were points where I'm like, this had the potential to be a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, it did.
It fell short because of the ending.
Yeah, the ending just took it right out.
Now, I think even if they stuck the ending, it probably was destined for disaster just because of how niche of a movie it is.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's not. You're not getting Dracula.
No.
You are getting one chapter.
But I think this would have been one of those movies that would have become like a cult classic that people wouldn't have paid to go see, but once it became free,
Right, a couple years down the line,
and people
maybe.
gave it an opportunity, I think people would have really the word of mouth would have spread, and this would have been like a
sleeper hit.
Yeah, and I think this would have been one of those Halloween movies that people would go to.
Oh yeah,
like every October. But now, I just don't think it has that potential.
The ending pulls you right out of it. You know?
So unfortunately, that was mine. What about you? What did you catch?
So I watched Wonka.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I haven't seen it yet, but looking forward. Or maybe I'm not. Let's hear the review.
I went into it thinking I wasn't going to like it.
Yeah.
Because the trailers make it seem a little cringy. And
sure.
I fucking loved it.
Did you?
I loved it. I'm actually mad I liked it so much.
Really?
So, I don't know if you know, it is a musical.
Yes, I do know that.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yes.
So I didn't know going into it that it was a musical, right? it was very charming.
Good.
And
Excellent.
here's why. Because I've been thinking about it for a couple of days. None of the songs are particularly, special or anything, right?
Sure.
I mean, you have a weird rendition. Like the worst, I would say Hugh Grant is odd in it. He's not bad.
Okay.
But it's odd. It's just odd to kind of see him. You get an Oompa Loompa rendition, right? And that's fine.
Yeah.
And you get Come With Me.
Okay.
And you'll see.
Okay.
At the end.
Okay.
Which is, again,
good. Yeah.
Fine. And, is Timothée Chalamet the best singer? No.
No, that's
but
okay.
He does acceptable.
Yeah.
The reason it works so well, though, is because they're not trying to change who Willy Wonka is.
Good.
Right? It's just him as a young man, right? Trying to, getting there, fighting against sort of, these big candy makers, your Slugworth and a couple other guys.
Yep.
He's this big talent, and it's that in and of itself. It's a little too long, in my opinion.
Sure.
But the songs are catchy enough. He's perfectly acceptable as Willy Wonka.
Good.
And I mean, it is a prequel to the Gene Wilder film.
Right.
And I think even that works.
Yeah.
It really does. And the rest of the cast, great. Everybody played their part.
Yeah.
And
I think that, again, Timothée Chalamet doesn't necessarily look like Gene Wilder, but you could see the evolution if you thought about it.
I agree. And here's the thing. That's what got me, is that I was like, okay, he's at least embodying what Gene did.
Right.
Where you can say, okay, 40 years from now, could I see him evolving into Gene Wilder? And absolutely.
Yeah, that's what matters.
And to me, I'm sitting there going like, well, why did this, because again, we're very critical of a lot of the stuff that has been coming out, and I'm thinking, why did this work? Right? Because it has everything that Disney likes to tout, right? It has diversity and all of that stuff, and it's all fine.
Right.
It all works because fucking Willy Wonka Land is not real.
Right.
Right? So it doesn't have to adhere to historical accuracy.
Right.
And the only thing that I cared about was that Willy Wonka was Willy Wonka.
Well, but that's the thing. Willy Wonka was Willy Wonka.
Right. And, in Tim Burton's film, he wasn't.
Not necessarily. He was a much different version.
Right. But again, that wasn't a prequel or a sequel or anything. So that in and of itself, I think, is fine.
Sure.
I don't think it's a bad film. I don't think it's an overly good film. I think it's just fine.
Yeah.
But I think if you take Wonka and then Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as a double feature, it's fucking great.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was really happy about that.
I'm
really
glad
was.
Because I do want to catch that, and I'm glad to hear that it's worth watching.
It totally is.
Cool.
I may watch it again.
Really? Nice.
Not if someone wants to see it. I don't think I'd independently watch it again. But that's the thing, is there was enough heart in it that they weren't trying to rewrite who he was. They weren't trying to change his character or make someone else,
And that's that's what we're talking about. That's what we've been talking about. That's all we're looking for is stay true to the character.
Right. Here's the thing. They flesh out a little bit. There's like people that help him along the way, right? Sort of just get established and everything.
Sure.
And it's like, yeah, okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't expect him to be this omnipresent sort of, figure.
Sure.
But I'm okay with that. Like, I would expect him to get help. You want to help this guy. And to me, that doesn't take away from the character, right?
No.
Like, the candy is what he's known for. But, if he gets help from an accountant or, a businessman or whatever.
Right. If he gets some financial advice,
right.
So be it.
Right. And that's the thing, is that, it's a great kids film. Right.
Good.
There's some villains in it, but nothing is too serious. And
Right.
visually, it's great.
Mm-hmm.
The songs are catchy enough,
Nice.
and it feels like a well done prequel.
That's good.
So and it's rating out rather well
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad to hear that movie is, it seemed like it was successful in theaters. I'm glad that it's actually worth the watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
For sure. So when that comes to streaming, I would say,
Yeah,
if
I'm
you,
definitely.
Again, it's about 2 hours, which
Yeah.
to me you probably could have done an hour and a half like
Sure.
the original. But definitely worth a
Nice.
watch. If you have the nostalgia and everything,
Yep.
there is. And they do crazy shit. There's a scene where he at the beginning he's like, oh, I got 12 crowns, right? Whatever the currency is.
Mm-hmm.
And he flicks the coin, one of the coins, right? His last coin, right? And it falls through a hole in his pocket and lands in the drain, the gutter,
Yeah.
which is the same gutter that Charlie finds the coin in that he wins the golden ticket
Nice.
with. It's like little things like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
Like
nice little Easter eggs.
Right, they truly honored what they were trying to do.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
nailed it. Now, I haven't seen this yet, but I wanted to talk about it before we move on.
Okay.
So, Madam Web came out.
Oh, yes.
Oof.
I think it's already out of theaters.
It is maybe the lowest rated film this year. It's bad.
Yeah.
Like no, I don't even think even the shills that are bought and paid for
Right.
have nothing good to say about
No,
this.
because it's one of the worst written movies.
It's what happens when you have executives who don't care about movies, who don't care about comic books, let alone movies.
Right. Well,
because the thing is I think you and I, when we argue these points, are under the impression that these executives like movies, and I don't think they do.
No. But what you did was you thought the Marvels was going to be a massive success, and you jumped on the train
Right.
before you
But
saw the results.
How did you think the Marvel? I don't think any average Joe, even people, and there are some, even people that are fans of Captain Marvel, right? I don't think anyone was going, "Oh, this is going to save the MCU."
No.
I don't think anyone thought that.
but Sony bought what Iger was selling and jumped on the same bandwagon and greenlit something that they thought could piggyback off of what was being touted as this great, movement and what was going to be the next big thing.
Right, but you can't just go, all right, well, what's your story about? Doesn't fucking matter. Girl power, baby.
Right.
Like that's the note.
Yeah.
It's just like we'll get a a group of women together, and that's it. Powerful women.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, cool, great, but what's the fucking story about?
Right.
Nothing. It doesn't matter.
It's what they don't understand and what they I hope realize by now. Look,
They don't. Realize.
Venom is not good, right?
No.
Venom
No.
is you got lucky with the first one because you nailed the visual aspect of Venom, and the second movie sucked. The third movie is going to be even worse than the second
is
one.
Embarrassing.
Right. And the thing is, you cannot have a Spider-Verse without Spider-Man. Plain and simple. And because you can't, because you're having trouble doing one without Marvel's assistance.
The only thing you can do, right? You could do maybe a Black Cat movie as long as Spider-Man shows up in it.
Right.
Right? I mean, you can do things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just doing a purely Madam Web-driven film is foolish.
I mean, I'll tell you this: if and when Craven comes out and flops as miserably as this does,
and I don't think it'll flop as miserably.
No,
and
but I think
it may have its Venom moment.
I think it's going to be like Venom 2 level.
But you think it's going to be that bad?
Yeah, I do. And then
I don't like what they're doing with Craven.
But the thing is, why don't you just sell? Realistically, right? Make your third. Before you do so, make your third Spider-Verse.
Right. And your last Venom.
And your last Venom, because that's
already.
But those movies are already, in the can,
right,
so to speak.
Take
right?
your $1 billion from your Spider-Verse and your 700,000 from Venom. And just understand that this is a property that you're not capable of handling.
No. So even, just get a price from Marvel to say how much are you willing to give us to get the rights back to Spider-Man?
And sell it.
And move on to something else, because at the end of the day, you can't keep on putting these type of movies out.
You can't milk Spider-Man for any more than what, like, the only reason that Spider-Man at this point is even in anybody's mouth is because Marvel helped you with, or made, I should say, those movies.
Right. And
It's not because of Venom. It's not because of Craven or Madam Web. Now, I will say, the Spider-Verse, you nailed that.
Sure. But their thinking is, well, look at how successful the Joker movie was without Batman. Yes, but DC still owns both. Batman can show up anytime they want him to, if they want him to.
Here's the thing. It's the Joker, right? I mean, do you think that this Penguin show is going to be as successful as the Joker?
No, but my point is that Batman and Spider-Man have the two biggest rogue galleries in all of comics, bar none.
Sure.
Flash is a close,
Yeah, but really, do you really want to see Reverse Flash or Captain Boomerang?
No, I don't.
Right.
But in their mind, hey, Spider-Man's rogue gallery is almost as great as Batman. So if you can do other stories without Batman, we can do other stories without Spider-Man. The difference is, no, you can't.
Right.
No, you can't.
Because, I mean, look at the comics, right? Joker comics sell.
Right. And Venom doesn't do badly, and that's
Lethal
why Venom
did pretty
But that's
good,
why Venom has done okay.
Right.
Because Venom is the only one that you have.
But that's what I would say is that you can only do Craven if you're going to do like Craven's Last Hunt.
Right, but you have to have Spider-Man.
Right, and it has to be a hard PG-13 bordering R.
And the thing is, right, Venom 3 is going to come out. After that, does anybody want another Venom movie? I mean, realistically, by himself, no.
You've tried, right? Morpheus tanked.
Mm-hmm.
Madam Web tanked.
Yep. And I think Craven is going to tank, to be perfectly honest.
Here's the thing. If you had gotten, like, Momoa to play Craven.
Maybe.
And kind of leaned into, no, he's not an anti-hero. He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's a villain. He's a bad dude.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, right, Craven was a main character in the Spider-Man 2 game. He was fucking awesome.
Yeah, but you're not going to... But without Spider-Man, and without even
I don't
hints of Spider-Man...
I don't want to see environmentalist Craven killing poachers because they're hunting the animals.
And Spider-Man's not... You're probably not even going to hear his name mentioned in that movie. There's no connection. There's no connectivity to it. And so what's the point?
Was Spider-Man mentioned in Madam Web? Do we even know?
Well... Yeah, because her partner in the EMTs is Uncle Ben.
Oh, okay. That's how they tie it all together.
He mentions
Peter?
his sister-in-law is pregnant.
Okay, all right.
So
yeah.
there's your tie-in.
Great, lucky us.
Yeah, except here's the problem. When she starts developing her powers, right?
Right.
As we fast forward, right? Well, none of the Spider-Man movies have ever mentioned Madam Web.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like there's no connectivity.
You know what's interesting is I read an article the other day that said that Star Wars wasn't so much ruined. The sequels did an incredible amount of damage.
Sure.
But what hurts Star Wars the most is the amount of retconning.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much retconning.
Well, that's what that's why I won't even acknowledge the shows on Disney Plus, because you have basically so ruined the original trilogy by all the retcons that you've done. I won't acknowledge that they even exist.
You know, it's akin to when Lucas went back and kept adding CGI to the originals, and it was like, fucking for what? Like, none of the CGI he added really. There's that fucking scene in Return of the Jedi with the stupid fucking aliens singing the song. Like, there's nothing in there that you go, oh, it needed that.
I mean, like, what you got a more one more up close version of the Wampa. Where his arm is off, like you see him writhing in pain. Like,
right, you get that scene on Tatooine of the fucking stormtroopers riding those like that. That's it. It's nothing. Yeah. It doesn't add anything, right?
No, there was nothing. Right, there was nothing of any importance that was added.
And the thing is that I couldn't tell you. Again, I think the Clone Wars adds a lot.
Sure,
the cartoon. But I don't think there's anything that the live-action Star Wars TV shows have added that has any true value.
No, they've detracted. They've added nothing, but they've detracted a whole lot.
Right. I mean, you can argue that, initially the Mandalorian was fine. I guess it made Mando's cool and everything. Again, but obviously, that blew up in flames.
Right, exactly.
We did just lose Carl Weathers, which sucks.
Which is
that's
really
lame.
sad.
Yeah, he was actually going to be at Rhode Island this year.
Yeah,
so
that's terrible.
Bummer on that one. But I don't know. It's just, to me, and this goes for Spider-Man too. The reason I brought this up is just because, retconning Madam Web into this thing seems like a foolish play.
Right.
It's one thing to do what No Way Home did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have you're not really, I guess you're retconning the fact that the universes are all connected.
Right.
But you're bringing back the original cast.
Yeah. And that was cool. You brought them back, you had a little fun, and then
right, everybody goes back to their place.
You let it be known that everything is tied together.
Right.
But
you can do that. I'm okay with that.
And that was fine.
Right.
But you can't but now all of a sudden this character exists.
Right.
But yet doesn't exist because you've never heard of her before.
Right.
And so now it's like, okay, well, now we've heard of her, but okay, now that we've heard of her, where the hell has she been? Because
exactly. Like
no one's ever talked to her.
Where are you going with this?
Right.
At the end of the day. Like,
exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, it's got like a 7% on Rotten Tomatoes,
doing really poorly.
I think some of the shills are giving it a 5.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's like,
because it's not. They're not getting Disney money to prop this up, so they're not.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I just wanted to talk about that because I mean, it was one of those things where even Dakota Johnson, and you know what, I'm going to say this too. If Dakota Johnson didn't have famous parents, I don't think she'd be an actress.
No, definitely not.
She's not.
Definitely
She's not particularly good.
No. She got good genes.
Sure, yeah.
And
she's very pretty.
And she's got the parents that got her the in.
Right, exactly. But I don't think from a talent perspective, she's anything. She's no Margot Robbie.
No, hell no.
Right.
Not even close.
It's just crazy to me. I was I fucking saw her on the red carpet and that like weird see-through thing, and I was like, if you fucking didn't have famous parents, you'd be flipping burgers.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on.
But I want to talk about. But speaking of women, I want to talk about and this whole
very hard.
Yeah. Well.
Jeez. Relax.
No. I don't want to talk them in that sense. Obviously, we are having a problem with, movies, especially in the superhero genre, with them, failing miserably, most of them for that last couple years. And
yeah, you've been very critical of the the MCU.
Yes,
as you
very,
like to talk
very.
about.
Here's my and so again, they keep on talking about including women, making it for women. This is all we keep hearing. And, and I brought up this point before. They didn't show up for for the Marvels. The men did, not women. But you keep on trying to pander to women who aren't there. And my point is this. The fake geek girl has moved on.
Well, here's the thing, right? I think you have geek girls, right?
There are geek girls.
the geek girls are showing up for the same shit that we are. They like the shit that we like.
But they're there watching it, but they're the small percentage of what's left.
No, the fake geek girl is your Twitch streamer that, is really just in it for the payday.
But here's what I want to how I want to drive the point home, right? The fake geek girl is now the fake football girl. Meaning, right, we all know the whole thing with Taylor Swift, right, dating one of the members of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Sure, I get what you're saying. I think a lot of let me phrase it better than the fake geek girl. I think it was trendy for a long time to be into superheroes.
Exactly.
And it's trendy now to be into football.
Right.
Not, you can argue, obviously Taylor Swift has a big hand in that.
Right.
But I think it's just it was trendy to be a Chiefs fan during the Super Bowl.
Right. But here's my point. Right. In sports, and we're a fan of sports, you root for your team.
In good or bad times.
Right. And you might have a player you like, whatever. Yeah. And maybe that player is on a different team, what have you. Travis Kelce, the football player that Taylor Swift is dating, his merchandise, when that came out, went 100% up.
Of course.
Men who watch football are not buying that shirt.
The thing of it is, right, and I think this is where it sort of, kind of branches out, right? With Travis Kelce's merch going up, whatever. I mean, as long as Taylor Swift is with him, his merch is going to go up. I think if they break up, nobody's going to be like, oh, Travis Kelce.
No.
It's going to go back to Patrick Mahomes, right?
No, but my point is, though, that no one outside of Kansas City is buying Travis Kelce shirts.
Well, normally.
Normally. And when the Taylor Swift thing happens and the merch went up 100%, that's not guys now all of a sudden buying Travis Kelce shirts.
Or if it's guys buying their girls' shirts.
That is either guys buying it for their girl or girls buying it. So my point is, though the girls that found it trendy to be into geekdom.
Yeah, but don't even gender it. It's anybody that jumps on the trend. It is. And to be fair, obviously Taylor Swift's fan base is predominantly female, right? For the sports thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. I think that even pulling gender out of it, right? There are just people that jump on the trend. And I think where Disney made the mistake, not even just Disney, I think where they all made the mistake was instead of going, we get to ride this wave, and because trends come and go.
Sure.
We get to ride this wave, but we can't isolate the fan base because the fan base isn't going. That's the thing, is that if tomorrow they started making good Marvel movies and good Star Wars shit, you and I are back on board.
Right. But the problem is these companies went after
the trends,
the fly-by-nighters, and isolated and ignored and insulted the fans, the actual fans.
Not recognizing that it's one. Sure. Can you pander to trend riders, I guess, right? People that hop on the hype train, the trend train, whatever you want to call it. Sure, and you'll make a ton of cash for a little while.
Right.
But if you do that, and by doing that isolate the fans, you're long term ultimately going to destroy dynasties.
Yeah. And so my point is this, that it is not, I don't believe it is superhero fatigue that is plaguing these movies. I think that you lost the fly-by-nighters who were never going to be long-term, and because you pissed off your fan base, they also abandoned, and you have such a little left that it's not that it's fatigue, it's that you drove your audience out.
You had us at Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
You had your trend riders.
That's where the trend
you had your
ended.
trend. You had your trend riders, and you had that was your perfect storm, right? Because you had your fans. I
Yep.
liked Endgame. I thought it was good.
It was very good.
And the trenders liked it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was your perfect amalgamation of both.
Yes.
And then you started pandering to thinking you could keep the trend going, which that's just not how shit works.
Right.
That's never been how shit works. You can't you might be able to elongate it a little bit, but you'll never be able to keep it going.
Right. But what you should have never abandoned was your core base. You should have done everything you could to keep your core base so that when the trend left, the core base would have still been there.
Right. And the thing is that I've heard, again, we're both on TikTok. We know who the trend people are.
Sure.
Right? I've heard the trend people talk about now how, superheroes are for children. I don't know why all these adult men are getting all bothered by it. And it's like, yeah, but they weren't for children. Yes, there's elements that are for children, but
Sure.
like the children aren't reading the comic books.
No.
Right. So it's like when you start a cinematic universe, we expect you to adhere to the comics.
Average age of comic book readers and collectors is 40 to 50 year old men.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not
that's
kids.
your 35 to 50 year olds.
Do you know who also? Do you also know who buys the most toys?
35 to 50.
Right. Exactly. Children do not make up. And again, it's not that because they don't have money. Because
No, but
parents
they want to watch Pixar and they want to watch, all that kind of shit.
Right.
That's what they're into.
Right. Adult males and females are the ones who keep the toy business alive and the comic book
But
industry
understand
alive
this,
and
too.
the comic
You've
movies
been
alive.
doing this for 15 years. So even if you had children fans at the beginning, you have an adult audience. Like, that's what I don't understand is that if you were 15 when Iron Man came out, right? You're either in your 30s or you're almost in your 30s now. You're a fucking full-blown adult. And you've been watching Marvel movies every year for the last 10 or 15 years. So when you say that it's for children, it's like 15 years ago you could make that argument.
Sure.
Maybe. But you've had a whole fan base grow up with these movies.
Right.
So are you just supposed to abandon the things you
and
like?
Look at the fan bases of Star Wars and Indiana Jones and things like that. What you'd think that the fans who were there at the beginning, which I am one of, is just going to abandon that stuff because I've gotten older.
But the other thing I don't like, I wanted to bring this up too, is that a lot of people make the argument, they call them normies, right? They're like, oh, when normies get involved, it ruins everything. And I think that's bullshit.
Yeah, that's not true.
Because Star Wars created the blockbuster. I mean, everybody, when it came out, was enthralled by Star Wars.
See, this is where that is wrong because normies don't have a skin in the game. So they're going to tell you straight out that's good or bad because they're not one way or another swayed because they don't have any opinion other than what they're about to see or had just seen.
The reason The Witcher had so much legs after the first season, because it got progressively worse and worse, is because you had fans that wanted it so badly to be good. Me included.
Sure.
That they go, all right, well, I'll watch season 2. I have to, right? And then once Cavill dipped, I think the fan base finally said, all right, fuck this shit.
That was the final straw.
It's never going to get good. They're never going to figure it out.
Exactly.
And, they're going to do their 4th season, I guess.
They'll do it, and it'll be a miserable failure.
Right. Worse, just as bad, if not worse, than Blood and Wine or whatever the fuck, or whatever they called it. Blood
Origins.
Blood Origins.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the name.
Yeah, because it's not even worth remembering, to be honest.
But that's what I'm saying is I think that the proper way to do this stuff, and this goes for, all sorts of, I guess niche properties, right? It's to make it for the fans, who will show up. And if if you're lucky enough to have the normie, to get the trend going with the normies, great, ride that wave, but don't chase a trend because ultimately you can, But understand that if you're going to do that, then what you're going to end up with is, if we look back now, Star Wars is ruined. It's a flaming mess.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little kinder to Indiana Jones. I thought it was going to be worse than ultimately it was. So I think Indiana Jones kind of dodged a bullet there. But Marvel is a flaming mess, right? And I mean, you look at these properties, and it's just it's this wake of destruction, because instead of continuing to build these dynasties, you kept chasing trends.
Right.
What was trendy? Powerful women. Look, I'm all for powerful women, but you can't argue that that's not trending right now.
Right.
And the fact that they're corporations that are chasing this trend and isolating your core audience, regardless of if it's men or women or whatever, when it feels fake, you lose your core audience.
Right.
So just because you're chasing that trend, Madam Web, failure. The Marvels, failure. Right? And it's not so much the women in the movies or the fact that they're powerful women.
No, that's not what's failing.
No, that's not what's failing. What's failing is you're chasing a trend, and in doing that, you're bastardizing everything you've built up.
Right. And you're putting the wrong people in place to write and direct. And you're putting out a very subpar product.
And instead of owning it, you're blaming the consumer.
Right. So this leads me to a question, right? You saw the Deadpool trailer.
I did.
I'm sure. I saw the Deadpool trailer.
I did.
And they keep on talking about, can this save the MCU?
No.
Here's my problem. We can get into the trailer if you want to talk about it in a second, but here's my point, right? That's gonna come out.
Yeah. And it's probably gonna be great.
And I
honestly.
think and if it does $1 billion, I wouldn't be shocked in the least.
No, all I have heard on the internet at this point is how excited everyone is for that.
But here's the problem.
Sure.
It's going to be like 7 months before the next movie comes out.
Right.
Which, again, you're going to go right back to the standard MCU movies.
There you go. The only way it could be the quote-unquote Marvel Jesus, right, is if, and it will do, I'm confident it's going to do $1 billion.
I think it's going to come close.
Is if Disney turned around and said, you know what? Deadpool, Blade, Moon Knight, they're all going to be R-rated going forward.
Yeah.
We're going to have an R-rated Daredevil. We're going to have an R-rated section of films.
Right.
In our cinematic universe. I think if they did that, you would have your Marvel Jesus.
But see, here's where I don't see it as Marvel Jesus. What Marvel has lost, as well as the fans.
Sure.
Marvel no longer has excitement for the next movie. And what I mean by that is every movie now is going to be judged singularly. Deadpool can come out and do $1 billion. It'll mean nothing to the next movie.
No,
the next movie is going to be judged not by Deadpool and the excitement carryover.
Well, what's the next movie after Deadpool?
Captain America, Black Falcon. Right, but no one's looking forward to that movie.
That's nothing against Anthony Mackie, because I love him.
He's fine.
I love him in Twisted Metal.
But
it's just,
but he's not Captain America.
It's not even that. It's just, great. So we're getting another fucking, like you said, another typical We're going to get Deadpool, which is atypical, and everyone's going to go, "Oh, that was a breath of fresh air," and then we're back into the pig shit.
But the thing is, nobody is going to wait with bated breath for the next movie.
No,
the next movie has to stand on its own.
The only chance they have is if you have Feige come out and say Deadpool was a raging success. Moving forward, we're going to make R-rated movies.
Sure, and that might work. And I
think that could work.
It could work. It absolutely could work.
And I'm not saying every movie has to be R. I'm just saying I don't want to watch a PG-13 Blade.
But I still think, though, that they're going to be judged individually at this point. It's not going to be so. My point is, you're not going to get that Captain Marvel $1 billion because it was put between.
No. I agree.
You know
with
what I mean?
Yeah,
you're not going to get that anymore.
Interconnectivity is over.
Right. So every movie is going to stand on its own 2 feet. So regardless of what Deadpool does, will have no carryover effect to the next movie.
You know, instead of looking at that like a positive and going like, all right, so we're back to Iron Man 1, right? Which if they had any sense, they would go, okay, so every movie has to stand on its own 2 feet.
Yep.
And if we get 5 or 6 bangers, then we can do another cinematic universe.
Sure.
You don't just get to keep. That's the thing, is that you know, if you said to me, okay, you have Endgame and then you have the Spider-Man movies and that's it. That closes out chapter 1 of the MCU, right? Then we have, you know, a couple of standalones. Maybe you get your Deadpool, you get your Blade, you know, a couple other ones here and there that work.
Yep.
And then maybe you start to tease Galactus.
Yeah.
Right? You can get me reinvested in a cinematic universe, but you kind of have to build it back up.
See, my thing is, what you should have done realistically is you should do Deadpool, and then you should have done another movie where Deadpool led into another movie, whatever that is, that resets everything.
Sure.
Like those 2 movies, Deadpool and Wolverine, and then let's say Avengers 5,
but
right?
The thing is I don't need you to reset it. I just need you to understand that as far as I'm concerned, right, the Thanos chapter is over. And that weird Phase 5/Phase 6, I don't acknowledge that.
Yeah, but you have to. But the thing is, and when I say reset it, I'm not saying, you know,
bring back Tony Stark or anything.
I'm saying you have to reevaluate.
No, you have to understand that because you've closed that chapter, now your movies have to stand on their own.
Right.
You know, if you can do 4 or 5 that stand on their own, then you get people back and invested in chapter 2 of the cinematic universe. And if you have one that's subpar because they're invested, it'll still carry.
Right. And I guess my point is, what you have to look at is you have to look at it and say, I don't need a Doctor Strange 3. I don't need a Captain Marvel 3.
Right.
We're gonna stop. Those movies stop.
Even Doctor Strange 2, it was just so muddied. It was you know, and then on top of that, you have the Disney Plus shows, and it was just this saturation of subpar content that maybe in the height of the MCU you could have gotten away with.
Yeah.
But we were on the downswing to begin with. And you kept doubling down and doubling down and doubling down. And, it's because the fans are scared of strong women. No. It's you blew your nut, and instead of recharging, you just kept pushing through.
Right. You know, Hawkeye is a prime example, right? We all enjoyed Hawkeye in the Avengers and but when Hawkeye
Hawkeye's like Hulk. He's a good secondary character.
But when you did the Disney Plus show, it sucked
because nobody wants Hawkeye as the main character.
So and that's my point with Miss Marvel. That's my point with Shang-Chi. You can have those, She-Hulk. You can have those characters, but they cannot be the central focus.
Miss Marvel was the best part of the Marvels because she was a sidekick.
Right, but her standalone show is the lowest rated Disney Plus show that you've put out to date.
Right, because she works as a tag-along.
Right, like Echo, that just flopped. Big time flopped.
I didn't even know it released.
Yeah, it released in, beginning of January.
Yeah, they stealth released that.
Right, but that's not saying that Echo can't be a part of something else.
Right, I think that's where they're kind of missing it, right? Is that, you can have She-Hulk pop up, but nobody wants to see another She-Hulk
but she's
show.
not the lead. She's not a lead character. She can't carry a movie or a show.
No.
Nor can Miss Marvel. Nor can Shang-Chi. So again, you have to say we don't everything doesn't have to have a sequel or a trilogy. We can take these characters and put them as part of, say, the Avengers and make them a team up, but we cannot keep on just going down this path.
Right, but I mean, if you if you look at the comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
If a Thor comic isn't doing well, an Avengers comic where he shows up might still do well.
Right. Exactly, because again, he might work well in a team setting,
Like the Hulk.
Like the Hulk, exactly.
Nobody wants to see a Hulk movie.
No.
Especially with Ruffalo at the helm.
Yo, fuck no.
Right, like that man can't
That
carry a
fucking
movie to save his
cuckalo.
life. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just the worst.
I fucking hate that
Yeah,
guy. I
he's
hate
another.
that
He's
guy.
another one that like I look at and I'm just like, how did you break into this?
Yeah, he sucks at everything.
Yeah, he just seems like I don't know, maybe he's disabled.
Yeah. But I mean, so, I look at I saw the trailer of Deadpool and I'm like, that looks cool. It looks close to the Deadpool movies from Fox.
Yeah,
Like, it's
I
reminiscent.
felt good about it, and they said fuck in the trailer, and I was like, oh, good, okay.
So again,
They wanted to put your mind at ease.
I think that it's going to do, as well as the Fox movies. If it does 800 million to $1 billion,
you know what? That
fine.
makes me angry because they know how to make good movies. They just actively choose not
right.
to.
But then you look at it and say, okay, who's playing the roles? Who's what's
right.
the movie about?
I think if you didn't have Jackman and Reynolds fighting,
Mm-hmm.
then you would get another shit sandwich. So
Yeah.
that's the thing is that, a lot of these, like it or not, and we've talked about, with Taika Waititi, some people are just in it for the paycheck, which is okay.
Sure.
But if everyone's in it for the paycheck, then no one is fighting to make something good.
Yeah. And so when I look at the enthusiasm of Reynolds and Jackman, and they're doing their thing, and they're not, believe me, they're not taking the Disney notes.
No, they look, as far as they're concerned, especially Reynolds, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have two movies that, and Reynolds more than anybody, because he was fucking Deadpool in that god awful Wolverine or whatever it was. This is something he's been doing and wanted to do and had to fight to get made from the beginning.
Right.
So he doesn't want his trilogy, because I imagine this will probably cap it.
I mean, as far as solo movies,
Right.
probably.
I mean, how much more Deadpool?
Right.
Solo
I mean, he might
D&D?
pop up
right.
here and there,
but again, this is the final hurrah of.
I think so
right.
too.
And I think with Jackman too,
Yeah,
we're
absolutely.
not going to see him as
no,
Wolverine again.
I don't think so.
And I think we're very lucky to have that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't want my legacy tarnished either.
Right. But on the flip side, does the casting of Fantastic Four do anything other than scream? This is Disney casting.
I don't know.
I'm not sure I have faith in these choices.
So here's the thing. I'm a little torn. Because Pedro Pascal is fine. Is he my Mr. Fantastic? Not really. I think, there are 5 or 6, I think he will be fine in the role. Because I think he's fine.
Maybe, but here's the thing. Do you ever watch that movie? The name's escaping me off the top of my head, but do you ever see that movie with Sean Connery and Catherine Zeta-Jones?
The Rock?
No,
or not The Rock. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like a spy flick
when they
or whatever.
kissed, it was
weird.
Right. This girl is like 30 years younger.
Right.
Playing
That's what I'm right.
The Invisible Woman.
That's where I was getting. That's where I was going with it. Is that I think looking just at Pedro Pascal, sure, he's a fine actor. I'm sure he'll be able to play Mr. Fantastic, and that'll be fine. For the Invisible Woman, I don't even know. Like she was a bad guy in Mission Impossible.
I have no idea who this is.
Right.
The only thing that I'm looking at though is, with that age gap,
right?
How is that love story going to like?
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
You have, the whole thing of why the Fantastic Four has failed so miserably on screen is you cannot get that family dynamic right.
Right.
And this casting makes me think you've done it again.
Now, I will say, for The Thing and the Human Torch, I'm down with those guys.
Yeah, but the problem is what's the age difference between Sue Storm and Johnny Storm?
No, they're about the same age.
Yeah, but they're not the same age. That's my whole point.
Oh, you're saying in the comics and
right.
stuff. Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They're
like,
about the same age
it's
in
all
the
wrong. It's
no,
all
right,
wrong.
Right, I'm with you. I think that they probably should have either aged up Sue.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so then you're actually...
You should have aged up Sue.
Right, I think
and
that's
I think you should have
probably the biggest
aged
problem.
down Pedro Pascal. I think he's too old.
Well, yeah,
I think
he's got to be pushing 50, right?
He's in his 50s.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too old.
Yeah.
And so I think with Ben Grimm, I think the dude they got playing him
Sure,
is solid.
that's
He's
fine.
a good, everything I've seen him in, I like.
Right, but he's going to be CGI
Right,
for the most part
but
anyway.
here's the thing, is that he still needs to carry that character.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, as long as you get a solid actor
And I think
there,
they did. And,
right,
I'll tell you
that'd
something
be
else.
okay.
I think the dude they got playing Johnny is solid.
Right, he very well may be.
Well, I mean, I liked him as Eddie in Stranger Things.
Yeah, but again, you're going to kill, if you kill the dynamic of the family and it doesn't work.
Right.
And the writing is piss poor because of it. I don't care how good the actors are, because the actors have always been good in the Fantastic
Four. The thing of it is, though, is that I think you got it right with John Krasinski.
I think so, too.
And I think you should have kept him and then maybe found someone in his age range to play Sue.
Yeah, but even the girl you got, I would have accepted that. Like,
if you had yeah.
Like if it's a 10-year age gap,
well, because
okay,
the thing is,
you could
with
deal
the guy
with
that got playing Johnny, like he played a teenager in Stranger Things, so you can probably get him to play
maybe
someone
I hope
younger.
so. I hope so,
and I'm sure they will.
Yeah, but
well, let me ask you this: if the girl they have playing Sue is like she's in her 30s, right?
Yeah, I think like early 30s.
Right, but if they push it to like 35, and then they, whatever with Pedro, maybe they bring him down to his early 40s, then your gap's a little more acceptable.
Yeah, but that's only storytelling. You're still going to look the same age.
Sure, but I can get past that.
I don't know. I don't know that I can.
Well,
because
here's the thing: I can if the dynamic is right.
If
the acting
right.
is good.
If the dynamic is right,
yeah.
and they're telling a compelling story, you probably can suspend disbelief enough where
I would say
it's not going to be as cringy as the Sean Connery thing I was mentioning. But
yeah, but I even thought that the original where it was Jessica Alba and what's his fucking... I thought that was weird.
Yeah, but they're close in age.
I know, but I still thought it was a weird dynamic. It wasn't the age thing. It was the relationship dynamic.
No. But the thing is, my problem is, because we don't know anything about it, right? My problem is when you saw them when they were first announced, visually it was appealing. This isn't visually appealing to me right now.
Okay.
And that's my problem, is I hope that it ends up turning out to finally get this right. But, even when you saw the last iteration.
Yeah.
Okay. That looks-wise, all right. Again, I didn't like the Sue and Johnny.
No,
with Michael B. Jordan.
Right, they changed the dynamic.
Well, but even appearance-wise, again, you're like the same age.
Right.
And now, obviously they changed that dynamic. We know why. That was horrid. But I'm just like, I'm looking at the casting and I'm like, it just out of the gate, it doesn't sit right with me.
So I don't think I was as offended as you were. I thought Pedro Pascal was a weird choice to me, but again, he's a big name.
But John Krasinski is a big enough name,
but not as big as Pedro Pascal right now.
No, but
and I think he's got a relationship with a solid relationship.
That's what I
Disney.
think the problem is. He's a yes Disney man.
Maybe. I mean, again, he was in The Last of Us. He was solid in that.
Well, I'm not saying he's not a bad. He's a good actor.
All I'm saying is that he's not the worst. Like, I'm not. They didn't cast him, and I'm going, well, fuck this.
No,
right off the bat.
No,
I don't know the girl who's playing Sue well enough to pass judgment.
No, and I don't either.
I saw her in Mission Impossible, and she was fine.
Yeah.
the guy they got playing Ben Grimm, everything I've seen him in, I've liked him in. He's a solid actor. He was good in Nosferatu. He was good in The Bear. He's in a couple other things. He pops up as a character actor.
Yeah.
I think he's a solid choice. And the only thing I've seen Johnny in is Stranger Things, where he stole the fucking
and like I said,
show.
I'm not at all talking about the acting chops of any of them because they're all solid actors.
To me, I can suspend. I can suspend disbelief if the dynamic is there, and I think with Pedro, I'm not worried about that. I think he's a solid enough actor that I can believe. Again, he was really good in The Last of Us, and that was a very
acting wise. Yeah, he definitely can act.
There's
no doubt about it.
With her, as long as she can keep up with him, I think we're good there. And I think the other two guys can what they bring to the table will be enough.
I just hope that the dynamic
depends on what
is
the
there.
What the writing is, really.
Right. I just
I'm
hope
not
that they
freaking
have
out about the cast.
No, it
could be better.
Right, but it's just
but it could be worse.
No, it could be. But the thing is, I guess my point is that I don't give Disney the benefit of the doubt anymore.
Neither do I.
And so it didn't scream to me that you hit a home run with the cast.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything, again, it's not, they finally turned the MCU around. This is where I'm at with it, right? I think Deadpool, regardless, is going to be good.
Sure.
But I think that's because it's not truly Disney. This is like a Fox production.
Right.
With the Fantastic Four casting, I saw it and I said, okay, I will pass judgment when I see more.
Right. And again, I'm not going to not watch it because of the casting. That's not turning me off to say I'm out.
Right.
I'm not saying that whatsoever. And I'm not saying that these actors aren't great choices for their ability.
I mean, what if it was like Rachel Zegler or whatever?
Well, no, then I'd be out.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Because that is a known cancer.
But that's what I'm saying is like there are so many worse.
No, no. And again, I'm not shitting on any of their abilities because they're all great actors in their own right.
Right.
I'm just saying that I have no faith in Disney anymore with anything.
I think the only one that honestly, the only one that kind of gave me pause was Pedro. And, but as far as Pedro goes, he's won me over. Like I have faith in him.
No, and again,
but if he wasn't Mr. Fantastic, right? And you had someone else playing Reed Richards, that casting would be fine.
Right. But again, at the end of the day, it's going to go back to story, right?
Because story and dynamic.
Well, because I mean, again, how many movies has Miles Teller been in that have been absolute,
I'll be honest with you.
Big hits.
The only Miles Teller movies that I liked were War Dogs and the drumming one. What the fuck is that called? With J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
Those are the only two that I liked.
Yeah,
him
but he was in Top Gun Maverick.
Oh
right?
yeah, he was all right in that too.
So, but what I'm saying is, it's not like he hasn't had a multitude of successes.
All right, he was terrible in.
But he was awful.
Fantastic Four.
Awful in Fantastic Four. So again, Pedro Pascal can be great in everything he does.
Right.
If you gave that same script to from the last Fantastic, he can't do anything with that.
No.
Nothing at all. So the script, the story has got to be there to make this work.
I'm with you, and I think the other half of that though is if they really want to make this work, you have to stop treating Doom like he's a throwaway character.
I don't even want Doom to be in it. I don't.
Oh, you can mention him.
What I would do personally.
Yeah. You want just strict origin?
I want just the end credit scene to be his homeland.
Okay.
That
would be cool.
That's it. That's all. Knowing that he's going to be in the next one.
Well, that's how you get excited for it.
But I don't want him at all. I don't want him mentioned. I don't want him appearing. I just want the
right. I think that's always been kind of their biggest Achilles heel is that they always treat him like And you can argue that in the original Fantastic Four movies, like, yeah, he showed up in the second one, but it was like, yeah, but you blew your load too quick.
Yeah, like you can go with Mole Man, go with the guy that was in the first, in the comics first.
Right. Think of it.
Think
of it as like a Guardians, right? Like you have to build the team. You got to make us care about Drax and Star-Lord and Gamora and Rocket and Groot before we care about any big bads that you want to put out.
Obviously they're going to be already established, but my point is, give them a foe that's going to give them a little bit of hard time, but they're going to be able to overcome.
Right.
And show that they've got that family unity, and then go to the next one, which they can't overcome.
Right, exactly. And I think that, in doing that, you can, if you want to go cinematic universe, you can bleed him into, well, Doom, they need help with Doom.
Like, give me the Empire Strikes Back. Have Mole Man be in the first one, you defeat him, Doom is in the second one, and he defeats you. And now you can't do it on your own. Now you need the Avengers or the X-Men or whomever to come and help you with Doom because he's way too big of a threat. And even then, you don't defeat him. Don't defeat him like you did Thanos and just kill him and then he's gone forever.
Right.
You can beat him, but you don't have to kill everybody.
Right. That's something I kind of always thought was odd too. Like even with like Lex Luthor, he always pops up and causes problems, right? I know it's DC versus Marvel, but like Osborn pops up and causes problems. It's not just like, oh, we killed the Green Goblin.
And sometimes he gets rehabilitated for a little while and then snaps back to being the Green Goblin and he causes problems again. And you got to defeat him again. But, killing these people off and then
it's just so short-sighted, right?
And you don't have it, like, look, the problem is Marvel doesn't have a lot of strong villains to begin with. So the more you kill off, the less talent pool you've got to choose from.
All right. Let's put this one to bed.
All right.
Jim, as always.
Yeah, my pleasure.
What do you got going on?
Just keeping the art going. Just check the socials every week. We got some new artwork dropping every single week.
You're on TikTok now too, and
you'll hit me on all the socials. I'll be there. Yeah, definitely check out the TikTok. Got some. I do a little bit different where I try to make a video of the art as opposed to just drop.
I like it.
It's a little bit more. I got nothing. So what do you want from me?
All right, guys. So that's episode 90 of The Corner. You know where we're at. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store. We're going to be at Northeast Comic Con at the beginning of March. I believe it's the 8th, 9th, and 10th, that weekend, whatever that weekend is. But what do you guys think? Have you seen the Voyage of the Demeter? Do you think that, do you kind of line up with us? Do you think it was really good and then it wasn't? Have you seen Wonka? Do you think I made the right call with that? Or do you think it's a cringe fest disaster? How do you feel about, not even fake geek girls, but just, these trend train riders? I mean, do you think that they are kind of ruining everything? Are you excited about Deadpool? And what are your thoughts on the Fantastic Four casting? Let us know in the comments. All right, crew. Catch you on the next one.